Today, I'm really excited to be talking to Sam Shi. She is a multifaceted, multi-talented singer-songwriter, producer, DJ, and UX researcher. She's written, produced, and released multiple albums, has toured as a live act with a band, and has also worked at Google, Equinox, and various other industry-leading companies. So I'm so excited to hear more about how you balance this all, Sam, and kind of how you carved these various paths for yourself. So I would love to hear more about your career in your own words. And the first question I like to ask people is when people ask you, what do you do? What do you usually say?
Yeah, it's thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm super happy to be here and to chat with you about this topic because I know it's something that is I feel like becoming more and more common, for folks to have multiple careers and be
Yeah.
multi hyphenates. So yeah, really excited to talk to you about this. I when people ask me what do I do, it's become more of a loaded question lately than I will have to say, just because of how involved I feel like I am on all of my careers or projects, if you will. I usually say I'm a music artist and I work a 9 to 5. So I've gotten out of the habit of saying like basically starting off by saying I'm a UX researcher at Google or at the time, and then I do
Hmm.
music on the side because I like yes, maybe it started as like a side project or a passion project, but like, music is, like, not my side gig, like, I mean, it's not paying the bills right now, but it's, like, the main driver of my a lot of, I was gonna say, like, my life force, like, I just, like, love music so much,
Yeah.
and it's more than just a passion project or a side project or, a second career, I guess, like, I actually it's funny, sometimes I say, like, "Oh, it's like the Hannah Montana lifestyle, like, this by day, this by night," and, like, people kind of laugh because, they get that reference, but yeah, I kinda say, like, yeah, I'm a music artist. I produce, I sing, I play all the instruments, and then I work a UX research job at Google, and honestly, it's like I do, sometimes I feel like I come off as intense sometimes because it just sounds like such a mouthful,
Hmm.
um, but, I've been also just kind of trying to talk to myself with a bit of a different voice lately because it's like, I've realized, like, imposter syndrome is for sure a thing, and also, like, don't make yourself smaller, like, these are your credits and accomplishments, so, like, don't be shy
Yeah.
kind of thing, but, like, it is definitely a mouthful, and it's often, like I often will get reactions like, "How do you do it all?" Or like, "Oh my god, what it on?" And it's like, sometimes also because 'cause I'm, like, a very sensitive and empathetic person, I just feel like I'm like, "Oh my god," it's like, that's such a mouthful, so, like, sometimes I feel like I try to make myself, like, smaller because I want to be more really
Yeah.
I don't know.
Does that vary in certain spaces or like depending on who you talk to, you like want to, or you like might leave something out?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm, like, really trying not to leave anything out now, like, I think I was doing it more before, and now I'm just, like, catching myself, because the way
Yeah,
that your narrative, like, your internal narrative, like, matters a lot, like, that defines your
for sure.
reality essentially, right? In the sense of, like, how do you perceive yourself? So, like, yeah, now I try to not really edit myself, but maybe I'll go into less detail in certain areas for certain audiences. Some people love to, like, talk about, like, what I do at Google because they're in tech or whatever, like, something tangential, and so we'll go into the weeds of that, and they'll be like, "Oh, wow, like, yeah, you really do work in tech." But also, like,
Yeah.
we'll connect over music or whatever, so, like, it really just depends, like, if we have, like, common interests. Some folks I talk to, I'm like, they don't, maybe they don't know anything about, like, the music industry or the tech industry, so it's like, I'll just kind of maybe give a more
Yeah.
broad intro. Yeah.
When did you I'm curious to hear more like how you first got into music and kind of when that shift of trying to pursue it more full time or pursue it more seriously, I guess,
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. So, I first got into music when I was, like, a young teenager, as a passion. I was like, I don't know, 12, 13, singing, writing songs, playing the guitar, like typical sort of singer-songwriter indie vibes.
Mhm.
And then like when I was younger, it really was just kind of like talent shows. Like I wrote a lot, but it was like, in my notebooks and my voice notes and like a couple songs and like I posted a little bit here and there, like to YouTube and whatever, but I really didn't take it that seriously. And also I was like, I remember at one point going over, like, career options with my mom. She, like, made a spreadsheet for me, and she's like, "So, like, let's map this out. Like, if you were to, like, pursue, this type of job versus music, like, this is, like, what we're looking at." And at one point, I was just kind of like, "I think it would be useful to, like, study something like, go to college, get a normal job, like, a job outside of
Yeah.
not in music, and
Yeah.
then, you can, like" the narrative was always kinda like, "Oh, I can come back to music anytime." And also, like, I have music. It's not like music disappears, like I can the narrative I grew up with essentially was like, "Oh, well, no matter what you do, like you can always like sing or,
Yeah.
play music." So then it wasn't until the pandemic where when I started to take it more seriously, like that's when I took an electronic music production course. I signed up for Lee Foss. I did like an online music production
Yeah.
course. Yeah, it was like 2020. Like John Summit was like one of the guest lecturers. And then I'm still connected to Civs, like another producer. She's based out of Canada and like met some cool people. But yeah, that's when I started to learn that, like Ableton, and that's when I started to learn how to DJ. And so that's when I started to, play. Like I would just DJ like any gig I could get when I was living in New York City, like bars, restaurants, club, like whatever. Like I just kind of started putting myself out there. And actually, even before I started DJing, there was kind of like a pretty poppin' underground nightlife scene during the pandemic in New York, and I would end up like playing the djembe, like the hand percussion with DJs
Sick.
before I knew how to DJ. So like I would just like hop on the drums like when they're playing and like jump into the crowd and like dance. And like that's how I met one of my really good friends, Naima, who's a dancer and choreographer. And like we also work together now, which is it's pretty cool to like reflect back on this. But yeah, so I started like that. And then yeah, went to a music festival actually, and like I had a conversation with this one guy who this is like a definitely a, what do you call it? Milestone type of conversation or
Like a
whatever, where he was
defining
like
moment.
yeah, yeah, like a defining moment where he was like, "Why don't you just do it all?" He was like, "You can sing, you can DJ, you can play instruments, just go for it." He was like very encouraging, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I guess I could." So like, I just, I never looked back. Yeah, here
Yeah.
we are,
That's
like 6 years later. It's
that
crazy.
that era of New York sounds really fun.
It was super fun. I mean, it was, at some point, everybody kind of just was like, "Screw the pandemic, like, we're tired of being isolated, like, let's connect," and, people were also on the same page about this stuff, right? So it's like either you were going out and, being risky or you were staying in, but, like, if you wanted to, like, you could find a party, like, every weekend.
Yeah. I feel like LA was kind of the same. It's interesting the, like, spreadsheet thing from your mom, and I feel like I can remember having similar conversations with my parents. Into I didn't know I wanted to do music at that age, but I just think it's interesting how music, entertainment, performing, like, that's not really ever surfaced as, like, a viable option.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not, and I mean, I look at it now and I'm like kind of rightfully so. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I see like, I was just listening to a YouTube, interview with Phineas, like, Billie
Mm.
Eilish's brother, yesterday, and he was talking about something he wishes he could, like, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing here, but, like, improve or change about the music industry, and he was talking about touring and how he's, like, burning money touring, like,
Yeah.
losing money, and it's like Phineas, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, well, if Phineas is complaining about this, like, I know I'm burning money when I tour, like, for me, it's an
Yeah.
investment, I'm not making money on that." I mean, you have to, like, really hustle to,
It's
like,
insane.
make a livable wage, and so for that, I'm actually quite, like, very thankful to my mom for being like reality check, because I also know
Yeah.
musicians who, like, really, like, struggle to, make all the money they need.
Yeah. And I guess, like, you kinda had that foundation already, so, you truly could jump back into it at any time.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. Like, it was actually, I will say, like, when I first started to learn how to produce, like, I really sucked. I had to make so many, like, bad beats until I liked anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was grinding, and, like, I remember, like, I sacrificed my social life, like, I wasn't sleeping very much, and, like, I just, like, was obsessed, like, I just, like, wanted to get better at production, and so for, like, a year to 2 years, like, I kinda just was, like, heads down, focus. I knew I really wanted to get better at it, so I just, made the sacrifices.
I'm curious to kinda get more of a picture into your UX career too, just so we have a full idea of, you and what you do. But also beyond, I guess, kind of the stability it's offered you as you've built your music career, how has it informed how you approach music? Kind
Yeah,
of a two-part question.
I love this question. One, I'm a senior UX researcher at Google. I work on YouTube, ads and, app ads. It sounds quite specific, but it's actually, like, such a large area for the business. So UX stands for user experience, for those who don't know, and basically my job is to research how humans behave and what do they think about the experiences and how can we make them better, and it's really triangulating, like, how do we make them better, how do we make our experiences, so for us in this case it's our ads, better for the end user but also, you know more profitable for the business because it's a business,
Yeah,
and also,
a
taking into
huge business.
consideration, yeah, huge business, and taking into consideration, yeah, feasibility constraints that come from, the engineering side as well. So it's a very cross-functional role. Like, I work with all kinds of people, like engineers, product managers, designers, folks, from the commercial team, like go to market, global products leaders. Not so much with account managers right now, but, like, I will work with account managers too sometimes. And then, yeah, just like leadership across the board, and, other fellow researchers, of course. So it's a very cross-functional role. I have been working in the general, like, design and research area for, oh my god, since, I wanna say it's like 11 years now. Like, I started,
Wow.
yeah, it's like a long time. I started, as a design intern for a hotel tech startup in New York when I was a junior in college. And that was like a part-time internship that I did when I was studying at the time I was in New York. And then that just, like, kind of turned into like a full-time job. Like, the startup got acquired. And then they're like, oh, we like, do you want to come with us in the acquisition? They, like, doubled my hourly rate. And I was like, okay, like, this is kind of like a no-brainer. Like, I have to do
Yeah.
this. At the same time, I was, like, doing a launch pad for my own company. So this was, like, summer of 2026, and I was working like a horse. Like, it was, like, insane. I definitely, like, burned myself out. Like, I got sick at the end of the summer, like, wouldn't necessarily recommend, but, like, I learned so much that summer. So I was working, like, basically on my own business and then also doing
Yeah.
this other job. And then that just turned into a full-time job. So I actually took, like, 2.5 years off of college to work. So, like, I basically, like, got my job before I even graduated, and I was like, "I guess
Yeah.
this is the point of college, right?" Like,
Yeah.
to get a job. So I did that, and I got a lot of experience. Like, before even getting my degree, I had, like, managed a small team and worked my way
It's
up,
wild.
I guess. Yeah. And then I got to the point where I was, because at the beginning of my career, I was focused a little bit more on, like, design and implementation. And actually, the startup got acquired by an ad tech company. So already back then, I had been introduced to the ad tech world, which, I'm in now again. And, like, for those who don't know much about the ad tech world, it's actually quite a complex space. It's like, if anyone ever decides to learn about ad tech, like, it's a wild space with, like, billions
Yeah.
of acronyms and, like, and so many complexities, and, like, you just wouldn't believe all the stuff that goes into that world. But yeah, so that was obviously helpful for my foundation. And then yeah, like, and then I so basically I started design, and then I ended up, like, serendipitously, like, my peer was like, we actually need a researcher, like, how would you feel about taking on this new scope? And this is when they I'm trying to make a long story short, but I know it's sorry, it's kind of long. They
That's okay.
the company that acquired the startup basically like absorbed the startup and then let half of the people go at one point and decided to sunset it. So that's when I pivoted and shifted into research. I basically like right, this guy was like he was my peer who then became my manager and he was like, I think you'd be really good at this, like research, because that up until then I had been doing mostly design and implementation, like web-based implementation. And so I was like, that's cool. So like I self-studied a lot. I took like a course, like I like learned a lot about how to do UX research. And there's like some parallels between customer discovery and UX research, which I had learned from like the startup launchpad. And yeah, so then I did that. And then after working in that role for a few years, or like I think like now I'm not remembering how many years, but I got to the point where I had like hired a research intern, set up the practice, and then like at the company because I was the first researcher, and then I took a sabbatical from work to like go back and finish my degree because I was like, I guess I can finish my degree now, like because I got like an email
Yeah.
from NYU and it was like your credits are gonna expire, like if you don't finish now, like I was like, oh no, I didn't. I was like, I didn't get this far just to have like one semester left. So then I went back to Shanghai to finish my degree because I was based out of that campus. And then when I came back, I started my role with Equinox. And at Equinox, I was there for 5 years and was the only in-house UX researcher. And like first was like very focused on the mobile app, and then there was like a lot of changes internally that happened with the pandemic. Like I was at Equinox, like the clubs, but then I switched to media, which we launched the Soul Cycle at Home business, and among other things. And then there's just like a lot of
Huge.
chaos during the
Crazy time to
pandemic. It just
be,
like
yeah.
crazy times and like a lot going on, and like again like learned so much. And then I stayed at Equinox, and then I found I like worked my way up. I like found ways to grow my scope. Like I expanded out of pure like product app product research and started working with the marketing team. So like by the end of my tenure at Equinox, I was working directly with the CMO there, and like I had like the president commenting in my decks, and like I had worked
Yeah.
like truly my way
You
up,
built it.
like built it, like expanded my scope, like learned new things, like. And then um my there she wasn't like my most recent manager, but the one before, she had actually gone to Google, and then she had a role open up in her team, and then she asked me if I wanted to apply for it. And then I guess that was at the point where I was like, you know what, like I've been at Equinox for 5 years, like it could be good to have a new experience. And I'm very glad that I took
Yeah.
the new job because I've already learned like so much in the first year and a half. And being at a company like Google now with AI and how quickly that's moving, it's been like amazing to be able to use like our internal tools and stuff like that. Yeah. And then,
It's a good
so
place to
sorry,
be
that was
for
like a
the
very
AI era.
long, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yes. I'm loving it. I like nerd out. I started like, because of how much I use like Gemini and AI Studio and like all these platforms, I started to like work on stuff on the weekends on my own time, like to like play around. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
like a different tangent that I can go on, but I wanted to still answer the second part of your question, which is like, how
Yes.
do I leverage all of this in my music career, or how has it like influenced me in my music career? And I would say like in terms of understanding the importance of building a practice, networking, being like truly cross-functional, right? Like I started my own label. I got a contract with a distributor. I manage like I take care of like ASCAP, my like publishing, and then like but like you're basically running your own business. So like I would say like a lot of the skills that I picked up, like I've been able to like immediately apply to my music business. And then understanding like the importance of influence is another thing I would say. Like in my as a UX researcher, like you have to really build your relationships well in order, because you're basically like
Like
you're present
internal relationships.
internal relationships, yeah, because like as a UX researcher, like your job is to, like you're gathering data and you're presenting insights and like making recommendations, but like people need to want to listen to you. So
Yeah.
if you're not influential internally, like you could do the research, but then it might just like fall flat, and you don't want that. And so if you're a strong UX researcher, like how important it is to build relationships and to influence people and to like deliver your message was in the right way at the right time with the right tone and the right presentation and like, all of that stuff. So, and then even just like also all the skills of like road mapping and setting objectives and like quarterly planning and like I've applied all of those skills to my music business. Like there's no way I would have been able to accomplish so much in, 5, 6 years, I would say, if it wasn't for that. And I will say, like, honestly, I had a little bit of resistance in the beginning to like leveraging that knowledge and applying it to my
Yeah.
music career because like I had such a like distinct separation in my brain of like music, career, and like because I had this separation, like back to what I was saying in the beginning, I just like wasn't even applying myself to my music business in the first couple of
Yeah.
years and in the way. And like truthfully, like probably there's a reason it was supposed to go that way, like I don't have like regrets and whatever, but reflecting, on this, I would say I had some resistance because I thought of it as 2 separate things and because I was like, "Well, I don't." It's funny 'cau I think I
Yeah.
don't know, I had a conversation with someone at some point about this, and it was like, "Well, like, you work for yourself, so, like, if you hired you, like, as in, Google is hiring you to do this job for this thing, like, how would you treat your plan, like, your business plan for your music or your roadmap or whatever, whatever?" And I was like, oh, yeah, like, I was like, "I haven't really thought about it in that way before," and I was like, "Why haven't I thought about it in that way before?" And I just felt, like, so
I've never thought about it that
stupid,
way.
But, like, I know, I was like, "Why?" And then I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
okay, chill out," I was like, "Give yourself some grace, like, it's okay." It's
Yeah.
like it's in but, yeah, that's why framing, like, your internal narrative, like, matters so much because, I even just that, the way that I thought about it, like, impacted how I applied myself to my own thing, which is crazy.
Yeah. I feel inspired by you right now to, like, bring more of the workplace organization skills that I have into music because that's an area I definitely struggle with. For me, it's kind of like, well, music is supposed to be this personal and creative, like, experience, and it's self-expression, which it absolutely is, but, if you wanna grow as you have, you do have to approach it like a business. And I go through phases
Right.
where I'm like, okay, here's my spreadsheet, here are my goals. And then I go through phases where I'm just all over the place, but
Mhm.
I'm consistently at work, organized, I'm planning months out, all these
Mhm.
things. And it's hard to, it's been hard for me to bridge
Mhm.
that gap.
Yeah, I'm
I like
happy
the
to
employee
hear.
metaphor.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear you're inspired because, like, I would say, like, the way because I totally relate, art, like, music is supposed to be right, like, it's, like, about expression and, like, not necessarily it's not necessarily a good thing to, like, apply pressure in a certain way on yourself, like, and good is relative, but, like, I have found that actually not having the financial pressure on my music has been liberating, and
Hmm.
empowering. But then, I think when it comes to like applying yourself, it's sort of like, okay, well, when you make the plan, just like roadmap around like the exploration phase. But then if your goal truly is to grow and make money off of it, then you have to take off your artist hat for a second and like put on your business hat and be like, okay, what, like, if this is a product, like, what am I doing? What's the strategy here? Like, because it's cool. Like, if you want to make music just to express yourself and that's it, like, then you don't need to put your business hat on. But like, we do have to like be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, like, are we doing this for fun or are we doing this because we want it to go somewhere?
Yeah. And I saw in another interview, you said that, like, when you started, you on that kinda identity note, like, you wanted to have more separation between how you see yourself as a worker and how you see yourself as an artist, but then you realize that's not necessary, and you've already just explained all the ways, like, UX feeds into music and how both are very entrepreneurial, but, yeah, could you share more about why it works better for you to view both careers as part of one holistic journey in person?
Yeah. So one thing I should also mention is like how my music career and my me as a performing artist has actually also positively affected me as a researcher because, as a DJ, you know how to read the room, right? So, and as a UX researcher, when you're presenting, you got to read the room. So like, it's funny. There's like all these like overlaps where I'm benefiting. It's like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, it's mutually beneficial, and it's like a cycle where it's
Yeah.
like I grow on one side, and then the other side grows, and then the other side grows. Like, it's just like it's such a it's such a great I really love how it exercises my brain and, like, how I can apply learnings from one to the other. Uh, yeah, like, and just being like, because I think as a music artist, like, I feel the reason I wanted okay, so to take a step back, like, I think the reason I had this, like, separation at first was just because it felt necessary. Like, I don't really have a good reason, like, other than, like, "Oh, I think that this should be separate because, like, it maybe, like, it's like, I don't know, like, I
Yeah,
don't know if I
society
was like."
tells us they're
Yeah, like,
separate.
society tells us, like, maybe I feared what people would think if, if I didn't have that separation, or, maybe I was like scared to like actually just put myself fully out there, to be transparent now that I'm thinking about it. Like like maybe, there's probably multiple reasons. But the reason that it's been important for me to think of that as one identity is because it is like that is who I am, and sharing the story, I think, on both sides has been fruitful. Like, I've had several conversations with my peers, and coworkers at Google where, I talk about what I do, outside of Google, and they get really inspired. And same goes for, my fellow music artist friends. Like, when I tell them about how I use like my my Google job, and then like how I use that money to invest it right back into myself and my music, that they get inspired, right? Because it's like not, it's not like, because some people maybe would think of it as like, oh well, you're not really committing yourself fully to music, like you're still working a 9 to 5, like, blah de da da. But it's like, well, no, like it's actually all relative, and like it's a matter of how you frame it, right? Like for me, I am able to invest in my music because I have this 9 to 5. And then I think it just comes down to like building like more scalable systems, and diversifying like your income streams. But like, it's having it as a holistic identity. If anything, also I will say, like, another thing that I'm working on is, so I'm about to do like a 200-hour yoga teacher training. And
Wow, cool.
yeah, I'm super excited. It's starting next week. And something I've been like noodling on is how basically like because I think about like, what is my purpose? Like, what am I doing? And I'm like, because I know I love music, and like I love my job. I love my music, but I also feel like there's something more that I want to contribute. And I've been going to yoga, and I've been really loving this community. And like, I've been sort of slowly tapping into this idea of like creating a space or an experience or a something that integrates like all of the layers of me into like an actual experience. So like, for example, like maybe it's a new genre or format of like a movement meditation, like emotional healing, nervous system regulation, and vocal tuning, like
Mhm.
basically
Yeah.
like all the ways that I find myself sort of like I practice yoga, and I practice, singing. And then I, through my art, I've been thinking about what does it mean to be authentically you, and like what is healing, and like what is the purpose of life? Like all these like
Yeah.
big questions
Huge
that
questions.
artists think about. And I'm like, okay, well then I'm like, because I have like this, like I just have like a desire to want to provide something to people, to like provide value, to contribute something to culture that helps people. And I think this comes through in like in all of the areas of like what I do. And so, yeah, I've been like, so I'm like, all of this is to say is that like the reason I think of it as important to be as like one identity is because I see that there's a future in which I leverage all of this to build something like else.
Even
So,
bigger. Yeah.
they all, it all feels like building blocks in my life's journey. And like, it just didn't, I was like, it just doesn't make sense to like create these silos. Like, it's not, that's not really how it works.
Yeah.
Even when you think about, like,
It's
silos.
impossible at the end of the day.
Yeah, 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 like, it's like, that's not, I'm not 2 people.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, it
yeah.
makes total sense, and I love that beautiful vision of bringing them all together, to
Thank you.
create something that helps people. And I was gonna ask you, at some point, like, kinda what success means to you or looks like at this point, as you're doing all these things, and kinda sounds like that may be the ultimate vision, creating something where you get to use all these different talents and
Mhm.
also, benefit your community.
I would say so. I mean, I would say from, like, let's say, like, I think there's, like, multiple layers here because, like, from a live tour perspective, I really want to put
Mhm.
together, like, a production/show where it's more elaborate. Like, I don't want it to I want to go beyond what I've done already. So, like, in my mind, it's sort of like, it's a show, it's a live show, but, like, there's also it's like the journey is more sort of intentional as to mapping through, like, the wheel of emotions, and, like, I really want it to be like a transformative, excuse me, experience for the audience, and like super introspective. And so I'm like, okay, what can I leverage in the show to do that? So I'm like, is there like an interactive component? Like, do I leverage lighting and projection mapping and dance and choreography, and or like, I just really would love to take it that step further, and have like my own sort of twist on it. I also think, like, I'm also somebody, I love to like listen to podcasts and like TED Talks and YouTube, like all that stuff. So I'm like, is there a component of the show where it's not just song to song to song, but it's a little bit more interwoven with like storytelling and
Mm,
sharing of insights or whatever, posing questions, to the audience, like, is there more of that in there?
yeah,
So, like, I would say I would say for me, that's like a next step of like how I would define success as like a performing artist. But then I would say in the uh grander scheme of things, it would be what I alluded to earlier, which is like I would love to just like be tapped into my community in a way where, because like, one thing that's been is I've been thinking a lot about, like, what does it mean to, like, awaken, and, like, what are the different layers of consciousness, and, like, if I wanna evolve as a human being, what is required for me to do that? And so, like, that took me into the nervous system regulation, area. That's what also brings me in, right, to, like, movement and meditation and yoga and such. And so, yeah, like, I think, like, I would really love to have, like, a place where people can go and, like, learn about those things and practice those things and, like, have a space for those things, much like a yoga
yeah,
studio or something. Yeah, I think that would make that I would if I had that and it was, like, up and running and people were there and they found it helpful and were enjoying it, like, for me, that would be, like, ultimate success. And this I think, like, this all kind of started where I'm planning, by the way, you should come if you're available, a retreat to Peru in October.
my god, amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
I've always wanted to go there.
Yeah, I'll send you the details. It's gonna be like an adventure, a lot of hiking, but I'm also gonna layer in like moments of like meditation and journaling and such. So it's gonna be sort of like a milestone moment of this general idea
Vision.
vision that I'm working on. That's like you're catching me in like the early stages. Like I don't even have like a pitch deck.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in. I see the idea, like, It sounds cool, and I trust that even just after this conversation, like, you put so much thought in to make it a good experience.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I think the music, just to add to that as well, like the music is a way to message the learnings and to tie the people together and to like tell the stories and to spread the word. You know,
Yeah.
like because the music, I guess music as a product is kind of weird. Like I guess like I've been like thinking about it, right? Because like rhythm. I was talking to a friend and I was like, rhythm is life. You know, like everyone like like why like
Your heartbeat is rhythm.
yeah, I'm like, and I guess I'm just like, damn, like the commercialization of music is like, I just, I have like a pause, you know. I'm like,
Mhm.
I could commercialize something else, and then, and then the music can feel more genuine and authentic, and a means and a tool
Yeah.
to facilitate that experience. I don't know. Yeah, I go back and forth on this topic.
Do you see, like, as you kinda pursue this idea or, also pursue music, do you see yourself also having full-time employment while you do it, or is the dream to be full-time working on your own stuff?
I mean, I would say the dream is to full time be working on my own stuff, and that could be like multiple things.
Yeah.
I will say though, like as of now, I'm still like I'm still learning, and I hope this is true. I feel this is true. I in my body, in my soul, that like you wouldn't catch me in a job that I'm either a not no longer enjoying, or like if I'm not
Mhm.
enjoying it, if I'm not learning, um or if I'm not enjoying the people, right? Like there's like a few things that keep me in like a 9 to 5. I don't I wouldn't last. If I wasn't learning something new, if I didn't like the people, and if I didn't feel like if I feel like I have unfinished business, like I'm still going to be in the job, and like
Yeah.
and also it's like it's helpful, you know?
Yeah, and
So I
it's
would say
not it
like
sounds like it's not sucking your energy, it's actually, like, something you enjoy and, like, it fills a part of you,
yeah,
fulfills.
I would say the only time it sucked my energy was when I didn't design my time well. Like,
Mm,
when I put too much pressure on myself, like, where I just was, like, rushing, like, for what feels now in hindsight, like, no good reason, that's when it felt like it was sucking my energy, because I was sucking my energy in many ways, right? Like, I was giving my energy away in an unsustainable way to all these different things, like my 9 to 5, like producing, rehearsing, social life, like I just wasn't being very strategic about how I was spending my time.
mhm,
But I wouldn't say that that was a fault of the job. It was more so a fault of me not organizing my time well, and like
yeah,
putting all this pressure on myself to perform, and like to for what end? Like I get that like it helped me accelerate, but then at some point it wasn't accelerating me anymore. At some point it was just burning me out, and there's like a very, I think, fine line between like it's hard to know, I guess, like
yeah,
when do you pump the brakes, where in a way where it's actually going to help you. uh,
yeah,
but yeah, I would say like for
it
now it's definitely uh it's like giving me energy, it's like inspiring me, I'm like learning things, and so that's very much useful for me still.
yeah. Well, that makes sense. Do you have any, like, tips on how you got to that place of managing your time better or being more strategic?
Yeah, I just learned this lesson in what felt like a very kind of hard way for me, like emotionally, physically. Like I definitely was like what do you call it? Burning the stick, burning the candle on both ends. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a couple of things. Like it's like reframing your relationship with your 9 to 5. Like if you're someone who has a 9 to 5 who's also pursuing music or whatever else it may be, right? Like reframe your relationship with the 9 to 5, as in this allows me to not stress about the finances. It actually also allows me to, hopefully invest some money into my music business. Like for instance, you're launching an EP, like you should be like having some money in your marketing
spending.
dollars. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, It's true.
Unless your organic content strategy is like freaking baller, and even then it's like you would still benefit from having like paid media. So like,
Hmm.
I would say look at it that way, right? Like it's like you're making money to invest it back into yourself. And so yes, like maybe now it's not your ideal setup, but look at it as like building your way to whatever your ideal setup may be. And like it's a play the long game, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Hmm.
no like, I think if you go into this thinking, like, "How am I gonna go viral tomorrow?" Like, that's also, I think, a recipe for burning yourself out.
Yeah.
You just gotta be consistent, yeah, and just schedule, like, ruthless with your time, like, say no to things that are not aligned with what you're trying to achieve, and, like, be really honest with yourself about the goals that you're setting. Is this do you need this amount of goals? Is this actually achievable with the amount of time that you have? What is the most important thing right now? Is it more important for you to learn how to get better at production? Or is it more important for you to network and play shows? And like it's like don't try to do it all because then you don't do anything that well. Like
Hmm.
I realized I was setting too many goals for myself and I was spreading myself too thin and I was like, "Oh my God, like this is not." I'm like I'm not doing I'm not doing an excellent job at any of this right now because I'm spreading
Yeah.
myself too thin. And so like I had those moments of realization. Yeah, you
And then
just
none
gotta
of it
be
feels
like,
good if you're not doing any of it well.
yeah. And then you're just like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. How do you like kind of manage the challenge of, if you say you're setting up like a dedicated day of the week where you're gonna like produce or write or whatever it is. Like I feel like time blocking creativity can be hard because what if you're just not feeling it on that day?
Yeah.
How do you work around that?
I guess my instinct or initial reaction is like I don't feel like brushing my teeth every day, but like I still do it. It's like
Yeah.
I to some degree, like, yeah, like, you're not always gonna feel it, but, like, it's like, make something that sounds shit, I think it's, like,
Hmm.
better to just get consistent because it's, like it's a muscle, and, like, I would say the more you practice, the easier it's gonna be for you to tune into something that's eventually gonna be good.
Yeah.
And some people just get struck by great ideas all the time, and some people don't, and it's like I think just getting into the habit of like, just do it. And it's like, just, for every, great sketch, there's going to be a lot of really bad ones. So I think it's just like not expecting too much of yourself after every session as well, right? Like just creating the space for you to explore the sounds or the melodies or whatever. And just, and you are successful if you sat down and did something, even if it sounds shit. I think is like
Yeah.
a way to, get into the habit. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
hopefully that helps.
Do you ever go through periods where like like your 9 to 5 is just crushing you and you can't focus on music at all, or you're about to release an album or an EP and like it's hard for you to show up in the same way at work? And how do you sustain performance, I guess, in the opposite area when one is pulling you away?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, last year when I filmed my Joshua Tree set, I took time off to do that. It's like I guess
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like that's like my vacation, but I'm working, but like I'm like that's those
Yeah.
I guess I
But
will
it's
say like
worth it.
those are it's worth it. Like those are the kinds of sacrifices that I make because I really want to do it.
Hmm.
Like I would rather do that than go on a vacation and not dedicate that time to that. Like I guess yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's how obsessed I am. But yeah, I think it's worth it. And then I think that kind of answers if I have a really big project on the music side, like I straight up just like take that time off and like,
Hmm.
and I have my vacation days and like I ration them, like I don't spend them recklessly on other things. As for when work crushes me, like yeah, I definitely have phases where it's more busy, like it comes in waves. And yeah, I guess that in the past, maybe I would have been hard on myself, but I think now my mentality is like, again, like I'm I'm in it for the long game. So if work crushes me, for a week in Q1 or like for 3 weeks in whatever, like then I just
Mhm.
eat it and I just prioritize rest and well-being, and I know that I'll come back to the music. Like as long as it
Yeah.
doesn't here's the thing, like as long as it doesn't go on forever, which like at Google, I feel like I have great work-life balance, which is
Mhm.
great. And I know that's not always the case
Yeah.
for people. And I think if you're in a job where it's like crushing you all the time, maybe try to switch jobs. Is like, my
Yeah.
honest advice for that, or like, or set
Yeah.
boundaries, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
No, it
think
makes sense.
finding a job that respects your boundaries is really important for this kind of pursuit. Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, like,
And it sounds like
I log off at 5, like, like, I'm not like, unless,
yeah,
and there might be a few days here and there where I'm working late, but, no, I'm pretty, like, rigid on
yeah,
my boundaries, yeah.
yeah, and if you are, you don't let it affect your you know, I've gone through phases where it's like, "Oh my god, like, I'm I'm never gonna be able to do music again because I've been working so much for the last month, like, I'm
Yeah.
falling behind on all my goals," but when that happened more recently, was able I had a lot more success by just telling myself it's temporary and, like,
Yes.
music is a thing for enjoyment during these few weeks and, like, taking the pressure off the goal side of it, and yeah, that worked a lot better.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that because I think it's I feel like we put a lot of pressure on ourselves and, like, sometimes forget that we can adjust, right? Like, we
Yeah.
don't have to create, like, a pressure cooker environment, like a question I've been asking myself is, like, if I feel like I'm running into something that's, like, hard or difficult or challenging or not enjoyable, like, I'll just be like I'll take a step back and I'll be like, "What if it were easy?" And this is something Zlata actually, she said this to me, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm never gonna forget this." Or li
Yeah.
or like, what if it were enjoyable? I was saying like, "Oh, I'm really hating rehearsal right now." She's like, "Well, what if you liked it?" And I was like, "Hmm, what if I liked it?" And then you start to think about like, and I was like, "Oh, well, I
What would
really
that be
wanna
like?
rehearse." Yeah, I'm like, "I really wanna rehearse with a band, like, I don't wanna be a solo act." And it's like, "Okay, well, then do a band," It's like, okay, just, like, being really honest with yourself about, like, what do I actually wanna do? And am I
Yeah. We
is
get
this.
stuck in what's not working.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then it's like you're pressuring yourself or you're forcing yourself to do things, and then you're just like, why am I doing it this way? I decide
Are
how
there
I schedule my time. Yeah.
it sounds like Zlata is one example, but are there any people, mentors, or, like, books that have helped you get to this place with your mindset?
Yeah, I mean, Zlata and I talked a lot about this in the last recent few months. She's amazing at this kind of stuff. I would say I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. 10% Happier by Dan Harris is a great podcast. There's a lot of insightful guest speakers that he brings on, like the interviews there. Like there's a lot of things they talk about that I think are applicable to, like, that I, what do you call it, adopt in my like routine that has affected my mindset positively. I also really like listening to uh,
Mhm.
yeah, he's, I guess, a philosopher and among other things, but yeah, I guess that's more on the, like, consciousness and, like, spiritual awakening
Okay,
side, but I will say, like,
cool.
that for me has been very transformative in how I think. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting question though, 'cause I'm like, where I think it's, like, the culmination of my experience and then the content that I consume and the friends that I have that has, like, molded my mindset, and, like, quite frankly, also, I would say, like, my parents
Mhm.
raised me with a very specific mindset and like also like grow like moving a lot in the way that I grew up like
Yeah.
also has really, to be honest, like influenced my mindset. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to think about. I
Amazing.
would be curious if you find like a book that you find helpful. I'd be curious to know what that is.
I'm trying to think for me. I know like I read it a couple years ago and I feel like it's kind of cliched at this point. Like it's gotten famous on TikTok and stuff, but Artist Way did it was really, really helpful for me.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, if I think of any more, I will definitely send your way.
Yeah, I also I was gonna say, I also watch a lot of YouTube videos, like interviews. I watch a lot of artist
Mm,
interviews. I really enjoy that. I can highly recommend finding, like finding artists whose interviews you enjoy listening to for that perspective.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even need to be like your genre, I feel like. Any
No,
artist.
any.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Um well this has been so fascinating and really, really inspiring for me and I think it will be for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks for
Um
having me.
yeah, and I'd love to close just on like any words of advice that you think or that you would like to impart for others who are on a similar path.
Oh man, play the long game. I think is like my parting advice. Yeah, just flow over force
Mm,
and optimize for joy. Yeah, I think that's like my parting
I love
advice.
that. I just like was thinking of my words for the year and they were like ease, flow, and also joy.
Nice. Wow.
So love that synchronicity.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm such a fan of synchronicities.
Yeah. Me too. Amazing. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.